Start off with a statement on the situation in Bolivia, on the elections. The Secretary General congratulates the Bolivian people on the holding of highly participative and peaceful general elections that took place on October 18th. He encourages all political and social leaders to work together with the same commitment to democracy, respect for human rights, and national reconciliation in addressing the current political, economic, social, and health challenges. That statement will also be issued in Spanish. This morning, the Secretary General spoke to the Forum of Small States. He pointed to the challenges that small states face, such as the collapse of the global tourism industry, the contraction of remittances, the major trade slowdown, and the climate crisis. He said that small states have been vulnerable to the impacts of COVID-19, added that we need effective international cooperation, solidarity, and multilateralism to respond to the economic and social impacts that underlying fragilities exposed and aggravated during the pandemic. The Secretary General also stressed that the responses to COVID-19 pandemic must be linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. He noted that we must ensure that a COVID-19 vaccine is considered a global public good and available and affordable to all. On climate change, he added that we must build a global coalition in 2021 towards net zero emissions. Small states have a key role to play, he stressed, adding that he counts on their active engagement. And here in the Security Council this morning, members of the Council heard from the Secretary General Special Representative Special Representative in the Central African Republic, Mankeur Ndiaye. He reiterated the UN's mission commitment to support the forthcoming presidential and legislative elections, as well as local elections scheduled next year. The political situation remains tense, he said, as he encouraged all those involved to view the upcoming elections as an opportunity to consolidate the democratic process and to find lasting solutions to the crisis the country has been facing. Mr. Mankeur Ndiaye added that the coordinated and continuous support of the international partners will be decisive in the success of the elections. Turning to the pandemic, he highlighted that the socioeconomic vulnerabilities that have been exacerbated by the virus, and he strongly condemned the attacks against humanitarian workers, which are worsening the situation of populations in need. The Special Representative said the UN mission will continue to take all necessary measures to protect civilians, civilian infrastructure, and humanitarian workers. And a reminder that tomorrow the Secretary General will address the Ministerial Conference on the Central Sahel by video message. We will distribute the text of that message to you under embargo. The conference is organized by our humanitarian colleagues together with Denmark, Germany, and the European Union. As we have mentioned, the Central Sahel will includes Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and they face one of the world's fastest growing humanitarian crises, I think as you heard from David Beasley just on Friday. More than 13 million people have now required urgent humanitarian assistance, 5 million more people than estimated at the beginning of 2020. A press conference is scheduled at 10 a.m. New York time. That'll include Mark Lowcock, the Emergency Relief Coordinator, as well as Denmark's Minister for Development Cooperation, European Union Commissioner for Crisis Management. Both the Ministerial Conference and the press availability will be webcast. And staying on topic, the World Food Programme is warning that unless humanitarian access is urgently granted to organizations like theirs, catastrophic levels of hunger could hit parts of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. The ability of humanitarian organizations to deliver assistance of those in need has been jeopardized by worsening conflict and insecurity. WFP said in their statement, aid workers are also increasingly targeted by non-state armed groups in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and the agency is urging participants at tomorrow's conference to find ways for organizations to engage with communities and all actors on the ground to open up safe passageways for humanitarian assistance to reach those who need it. And in Geneva, the fourth round of the Libyan 5+5 Joint Military Commission talks began this morning. These are taking place at the Palais des Nations. with the presence and participation of the acting special representative for Libya, Stephanie Williams. The launching of this round of talks is marked by in-person meetings between delegations of the two parties to the Libyan conflict. The deliberations of this round will continue until October 24th. The UN mission in Libya hopes that the two delegations will reach a solution to all outstanding issues in order to achieve a complete and permanent ceasefire across Libya. And in Yemen, our humanitarian colleagues tell us the humanitarian situation continues to worsen as clashes surge in Hodeidah, Taiz, and elsewhere. Our humanitarian colleagues report that more than 8,000 people have been displaced in October due to the recent escalation in violence. We, along with our humanitarian partners, are providing shelter, non-food items, food, and drinking water to the newly displaced people. Against this backdrop, COVID-19 continues to spread unchecked across Yemen. In parallel, the threat of hunger for millions is on the rise as food prices are 140% higher than the average price before conflict. Some 20 million people are food insecure, including nearly 10 million people facing food insecurity. Some 2 million children require treatment for acute malnutrition, of which 360,000 are at risk of dying without treatment. The lack of funding is crippling humanitarian operations in the country. 16 of the UN's 41 major programs have already been reduced or shut down. 26 more will close or be reduced by the end of the year unless additional funding is received. To date, the Yemen humanitarian response plan is only 42% funded, the lowest level ever so far. The lowest level ever so late in the year. We call on all our donors to pay outstanding pledges and increase support. And turning to Viet Nam, where we have been told that the central region of the country has experienced prolonged and heavy rains since October 6, provoking widespread flooding and damage, impacting some 5 million people. 130,000 homes have been flooded and more than 66,000 people have been evacuated. We, along with international NGOs and the Vietnam Red Cross, are closely monitoring the situation with the government and stand ready to provide support as required. We have already mobilized some funds for assessment and coordination. The government says they need shelter, food, water, sanitation, health care, and cash assistance as priority needs. Together with our partners, UN team will visit flood-affected areas tomorrow to determine what additional support may be required. And our colleagues in the UN Development Coordination Office tell us that we have new resident coordinators in Indonesia, Madagascar, and Senegal. These appointments follow confirmation of their respective host governments. The Secretary General appointed Valérie Julien of France as the new resident coordinator in Indonesia. Issa Sanogo of Côte d'Ivoire will be the new resident coordinator in Madagascar. And Koulibaly Siaka of Côte d'Ivoire will be the new resident coordinator in Senegal. Resident coordinators boost coordination among UN entities and support national and local efforts to tackle and recover better from COVID-19 and to achieve the SDGs. We remain in full gender parity among our resident coordinators, covering 162 countries, as well as geographic parity between the global north and global south. The full list of resident coordinators is available on the interweb. And our friends at UNICEF said today that they had begun laying the groundwork for the rapid, safe, and efficient delivery of eventual COVID-19 vaccine by purchasing and pre-positioning syringes and other necessary equipment. They will stockpile 520 million syringes in their warehouses during 2021, assuming there are enough doses of the vaccines. UNICEF anticipates delivering over 1 billion syringes to support vaccination efforts. Besides syringes, UNICEF is also buying 5 million safety boxes so that used syringes and needles can be disposed of in a safe manner. And you saw over the weekend we issued 2 statements, one on Afghanistan, in which the Secretary General strongly condemned the indiscriminate attacks that took place on Sunday on a provisional police headquarters in the province of Ghor. According to preliminary reports, the attacks claimed the lives of at least 13 persons and injured dozens of civilians, including women and children. And also, over the weekend, we issued a statement on the situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan, in which the Secretary General condemned all attacks on populated areas impacted by the conflict, and said the tragic loss of civilian lives, including children, from the latest reported strike on October 16th on the city of Ganja is totally unacceptable, as are indiscriminate attacks on populated areas elsewhere. Excuse me. Yes, James.
So I'll pick up just right there, because this afternoon there will be a meeting of the Security Council in closed consultations to discuss the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. I'm assuming it's Under Secretary General Di Carlo who will be
That's correct. She will be briefing in close consultations.
Can you tell us what she'll be telling, the general gist of what she'll be telling the Council, and whether she will, I know I've already asked about this, but will be talking about any possibilities that the UN could get involved if there was a more durable ceasefire accepted by both sides, any sort of mechanism of monitoring that the UN could offer, for example?
I mean, what I can tell you at this point is that she will brief on the situation on the ground, and she will reiterate the Secretary General's message, both on the political end, which is for the parties to abide, to resume substantive negotiations without delay under auspices of the Minsk co-chairs, and to very much to focus on preventing any attacks on civilians.
Very different issue. Is the UN aware of plans by the host country, the United States, to change the rules for the I visas, which is how most journalists covering the UN, and in fact most journalists in the US, are able to be here, most foreign journalists, the new rules limiting journalists to 240 days stay in the US. Does the UN have a position on this, and does it believe it's consistent with the host country agreement?
Yes, we're aware, and I think I saw the statements put out by the State Department a couple of weeks ago. I will check I've asked that we check that exactly and how it impacts journalists that cover the UN. If it does, as soon as I have something, I will get back to you.
Because certainly the Foreign Press Association, Ian Williams, has put out a number of statements. He believes that journalists are going to be seriously hampered in doing their work, and one assumes that there is an impact on that long-standing agreement.
That's exactly what we're checking. Benno.
Thank you, Steph. I just wanted to know if the Secretary General had any talks with presidential hopeful Joe Biden in the last weeks or month, and if yes, what they talked about.
No, none that I'm aware of. Yes.
Well, it's on Guinea. Did the Secretary General had a talk with Alpha Condé?
I'm not aware of any recent conversations with President Condé, but I will get back to you on that. Oh, sorry, we have people on the screen. I keep forgetting we have all these other people. Let's see. Edie, please go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. I was also going to ask about Guinea, but also does the Secretary General have any comment on the other election that was held over the weekend in New Zealand?
We congratulate Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, and we very much look forward to continuing to work with her. New Zealand's been a very important partner for the United Nations on a number of issues, notably on climate change. I'm not getting. If anyone else has a question, just wave, because I'm having problems with my my chat function here. Yes, Iftikhar.
Thank you, Steph. The Secretary General's special representative in Afghanistan is in Islamabad. Is there any special reason for this visit?
Sorry, say again.
The special representative of the Secretary General is in Islamabad today. I just wanted to know whether this has some special purpose.
Which special representative? We have quite a few.
On Afghanistan.
Oh, Afghanistan. Okay,
Ms.
no, I will
Ryan.
check. Sorry, I will check. And I failed. I apologize. I don't know. It's Monday, and I think I may have been given decaf instead of regular coffee. But I do have I have something on Guinea, which I can tell you that the Secretary General continues to closely monitor the situation in Guinea. He welcomes the overall peaceful conduct of the presidential elections on October 18th. As Guinea awaits the election results, the Secretary General urges all political leaders and their followers to maintain the peaceful atmosphere. He encourages all to patiently await the announcement of the official preliminary results and to resolve any potential dispute through established legal channels. And we'll share that text with you. Abdelhamid, please.
Thank you, Stéphane. I would be repeating the same question I asked before. Why the Secretary General, in his statement regarding Nagorno-Karabakh, did not once refer to the 4 Security Council resolutions adopted in 1993? Thank you.
There's the Security Council resolutions are there. No one is questioning it. So I think them not being mentioned, I would not read too much into it. Any other questions? Wave or speak up. James is waving here.
So just to follow up on Afghanistan, you read a statement earlier on about yet more violence in Afghanistan. Is the Secretary General concerned about the level of violence that is ongoing at a time when the Taliban is supposedly taking part in talks? Is he worried that the level of violence is perhaps not consistent with them saying that they're prepared to negotiate?
Look, the fact that there are discussions going on is very clear. We have seen an uptick in the violence. We've seen an uptick in civilians being hurt. I mean, the latest attack was really an indiscriminate attack on an area with civilians going about their business. I think it's very important that the focus be on fighting a political solution and on an immediate reduction of the violence.
Yep. Question, if I can. Tomorrow's Security Council meeting on security in the Persian Gulf region. Is the Secretary General speaking tomorrow?
Yes, he will be speaking tomorrow. We'll share that text with you.
Does he think it's time? It's long past time. Resolution 598, which called on the Secretary General to set up a new security mechanism in that region. Does he believe the time might now be ripe to revisit that idea?
I think we'll let... I don't want to preempt what my boss will say tomorrow. Okay, Apostolis, I don't know if I think you may have connection problems, but Apostolis was asking about the results of the election and the new Turkish Cypriot leader. I don't have any language on that, but I expect something this afternoon. Okay, we leave you in the hands of Mr. Brendan Varma. Wait till I'm masked.